Our guest today is Leon M. Burns. He's the president of Open Technology Group, a company that secured multi-million dollar federal IT contracts while maintaining a people-first approach. Based in Washington, D.C., Leon isn't just focused on tech advancement. He's passionate about using technology as a tool for equity, innovation, and opportunity. So, beyond his business acumen, Leon is a powerful advocate for mental health, particularly for Black professionals in leadership positions. He's opening up important conversations about what it truly means to show up as a high achieving leader while prioritizing personal well being. So, Leon, thank you for joining us today. And, we're eager to explore your journey, your leadership philosophy, and any insights that you have gained, regarding this industry. So, let's go on into our interview questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's go for it.
All right. First question. So could you start by sharing a bit about your journey to becoming president of Open Technology Group and what initially drew you to the tech industry?
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Leon Burns, president of Open Technology Group. It's been quite a journey, actually. Never thought that I would get to this point of not only being CEO, but even in tech. Started, my young career at Hampton University, graduating with a business management degree, went on to work for the government for 2 years, Department of Treasury. Then I went away to get my MBA. With hopes of, just kind of taking on the world. Came back, did a little bit of account management, and then life just kind of happened. With the beautiful thing about IT is that it's so diverse, and whether you do have a business degree, an accounting degree, whatever it is, you can always find a way to get into the field. And I worked in cloud technology for a number of years before my family's company had an opportunity of a vacancy for the president spot. And I decided to, go back and, join the board just to kind of help with the search for the next president. And over the course of, let's say, 2 or 3 months, I realized that I was actually interviewing myself because I could have done all the things that we were actually interviewing for: cultural reset, accountability, the ambition to look for new contracts. And so I said, I would take it up for 6 months. And here we are 2.5 years later, and things are going relatively well. I think that, a part of the CEO responsibility is to build that internal trust, not only with your team, but with the government as well. And I've been able to do that. So it's been a great ride so far.
I love it. Love the opening story.
Yeah.
Okay. So Open Technology Group has secured significant federal IT contracts under your leadership. So
Yes.
what's been your approach to growing the company while maintaining your people first principles?
So, I think that transparency is the number one principle under leadership. We've been very open with our team as to where we want to go and how we want to get there. The first is open door method of communication, knowing, what their threshold is as we kind of push the limit with whatever it is, whether it's the volume of asset management that we're able to acquire, or just kind of being open with the government as to what we can and can't do up front. And that approach has opened up so many doors. I think that a lot of people want to play the smoke and mirrors games when it comes to the level of capacity that they can facilitate for somebody. We didn't go that route. We were just straight up with everybody as to what the game plan was and where we wanted to go. And that really afforded us the opportunities that we were fortunate enough to have today. I think
Mm,
that for the team, also letting them know that we are a team as opposed to a hierarchical structure company, really allowed people to be cross-trained and motivated, and build relationships across the board, because we're not just in one place, right? And that's allowed people the flexibility to move, not get too complacent within the company, and really feel like they're truly a part of a team. And I think that's helped us a lot.
Oh gosh, wow. Okay. So let's kind of shift gears a little bit to leadership. So
Okay.
as a Black executive in the tech space, what
Yes.
unique perspectives do you bring to leadership and what challenges have you navigated? Because we know there are some challenges.
There are some challenges. I think one of the points that I try to drive home is that it's a we not me philosophy. It's we go to work every day, we do the best that we can, but what I try to hammer home is that your impression, your day-to-day impression is going to have lasting effects on who comes behind you. My motivation in terms of even climbing in the corporate structure was climbing high enough so that I could open up a door behind me. When I started out, I preach this to death. When I started my career, I met two people. I met somebody who told me that they would do things for me and they weren't in a position to, or somebody who was in a position and simply, just was unwilling to. And so what I kind of try to champion under my leadership model is that you're working hard enough to set the precedent and create, the perception that whoever comes behind you can do just as well, if not better. And so I think that's probably the numero uno that we strive for. The second is, understanding, the reality of the situation. My company is, over 90% minority. And, knowing that with the fact that only 7% of African Americans make up the tech space in general. We really have a lot of work to do, and there's an opportunity. Don't blow it, and just be the best that you can be.
Absolutely. Speaking of numero uno, you recently made the decision to work remotely from Mexico for 3 weeks.
Yes,
So what
yes,
prompted that
yes.
decision and how did you prepare your team for your remote work period?
All right. Well, yes, yes. I had a great 23 day stay in Mexico. Stayed in Secrets in Cancun, which was absolutely great. It was the
Yeah.
perfect work and party balance that I needed. Living in the District of Columbia, there have been a plethora of things that have happened over the last several months.
Hmm.
Well, no. So, you kind of get to the point where you're hearing sirens and, you're watching the news and, it's just nonstop, right? But I think, living in the district, you are just so accessible to, every and all things around you. And I figured it was a time for me to get out of here for a little while and just hear, silence, right? They say that, one of the loudest noises is silence. And that was true for me. Being in Mexico for 23 days, I was able to hear all the things that I was blocking out here. And believe it or not, it gave me a clarity that I hadn't had in years. So my approach was, letting my team know that I would be out of the country for a little while, allocating the hours, or structuring my meetings so that, they were in the middle of the day. That way I had the mornings to meditate, eat breakfast as I wanted to, work out a little bit, then get into the workday. And then once 5 o'clock hit, just completely, shut everything off, just really focusing on that lack of accessibility. And more focused on self. I don't think that we do that enough here, particularly because everything's right in front of you, and particularly if you work from home, you really want to look like you're on your A game, look like you're active. But in Mexico, I was able to totally unplug, and even in the unplugging process, see all the things that I wasn't taking into account while I was here, and became a much healthier version of myself.
I love that. Let me tell you, I love Mexico, and I
Yeah.
think I got an idea to go out there for a couple of weeks just to unplug and hear the
You really,
silence.
really should. And, and to, not to drag the Mexico topic on, the reason for the all-inclusive was so that I didn't have to think about the mundane, waking up, ordering breakfast,
Mhm.
lunch, dinner, everything being taken care of. Your needs need to be met as well. And sometimes you're able to facilitate that a little bit better if somebody's actually taking away the mundane task from you.
Absolutely. Okay, book my Mexico trip.
Oh, you
So
should.
you're an advocate for mental health
Absolutely.
for Black professionals in leadership.
Yes.
So
Yes.
why is this cause personally important to you?
So going all the way back to 2017, well, here we can take it all the way. I mean, since we're, on the show together,
Hmm.
my dad passed away from lung cancer, unfortunately, in 2012. I was a senior in college at the time. And, Black trauma, whatever you want to call it, right? We are just so, it's just so embedded in us, right? To just move through whatever it is, you know, uh, let's see here. He passed in November 2011. I was still able to get all A's that semester, graduate, go to grad school, graduate at the top of my class, and fulfill my promise in getting a condo in Washington, D.C. And it wasn't until that moment 4 years later that I was able to just let it all out, right? We, and particularly as millennials, right, we have the unique capability of being depressive functional and just moving through whatever it is, right? And so around that time, I decided to start therapy, take the responsible approach. And I was so inspired by it that I decided to start my own podcast, Black Mental Health on YouTube, and see who else, might have, experienced, great lessons in therapy or just overcome, just trauma in their own life as well.
Right.
Ended up being a huge success. Interviewed people from all walks of life: PTSD, schizophrenia, bipolar, anxiety. And from that standpoint, just really wanted to elevate the awareness within the Black community because it was something that we didn't talk about. The fruit from that labor was a number of people got in contact with me after to connect within the mental health community and seek help for themselves. So abundantly a success trickled over into the work environment because I noticed that once people typically did get to the CEO level, it was more about profit than productivity. And I didn't want to
Right.
be like that. So what I've done for my team is, create a number of things to strive for, create a lot of team unifying, monthly, activities, whether that is, their luncheons or being able to strive for different things, stressing to them that they should take the time off, being very flexible, and just making a very, very, very comfortable, cohesive environment. That was one of the
Mhm.
number one things that I wanted to do once I became CEO and just cultivate a culture where it wasn't work. It was more so, just coming to a team led
Mhm.
performance, center every day and just giving the best that you could. That's all I would ever ask.
Absolutely. And I know that approach absolutely, it should be able to help your employees and even their productivity levels because now they have a clear mind. They have a CEO that understands mental health and the importance of it. And that's great. That's great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a huge advocate for it. Everybody knows that,
Yes.
particularly with the Black community.
Okay. Okay. So, what advice would you give to other executives who feel trapped in the always on culture, but worry about stepping back?
No, for sure. I think there's a as as silly as it might sound, there's a level of confidence, right? There's a level of confidence in knowing that you've done everything that you can to make your team as successful as they possibly can be. I know that for a lot of the I'm not going to get into the millennial baby boomers war, but I know for a lot of the boomers, they seem to really struggle with letting go, right?
Yeah.
Allocating that responsibility to that younger generation, and I'm not entirely sure if it's a fear or it's an insecurity, but I think that one way that we can correct that is knowing that we've put our teams in the best positions to succeed and believing in our work, right? Trusting our team. If you really do trust your team the way that you say that you have,
Mhm.
you really have the competent team members that you believe that you have, you really shouldn't have anything to worry about. Have that closed loop of communication. Make sure that the standard is known. Make sure that the objectives are met, and then just release it. And
Yes,
99% of the time there's nothing that cannot be fixed the next day. Let it
that
go.
is true. You always have
What
the next 24 hours.
you have the next 24 hours, and you know what, if you got the weekend, you've got the next 48. Let it
Yeah,
go.
absolutely. Definitely something I'm learning. I will unplug. I'm like, okay, if this isn't done now, I can do
It's
this tomorrow.
It's a lesson. It's a lesson learned, and I remember my dad used to tell me, when he started work, he would even, just be in the office over the weekend, right?
Mhm.
When he first started, just because you have to feel, that
Mhm.
even if you're not doing anything, you have to feel like
Yeah.
you're doing something. But, I think as you kind of mature throughout that professional career, and
Mhm.
those relationships and that trust within your team, you're able to
Mhm.
let go a little bit more. So I would highly encourage you just to force yourself to turn your phone on D&D.
All the time. Mine
Oh
is
yeah.
always on D&D.
Your piece, your piece is worth more than you know.
It is. All right. So, Leon, this is my last question, and this whole
Awesome.
conversation has been amazing. So,
Absolutely.
with all your experience, your knowledge, what will you say to a young professional of color who
Okay.
aspires to leadership but worries about the toll it might take on their well-being?
On their well-being.
Yeah.
I think it comes to, we, okay, we could take this, we could take this a couple different ways. I don't know if they would be, spiritual or not, but I think that, if they were, I would go this route. A
Mhm.
prayer should be not to lose yourself within your journey. I'm so thankful that, my prayer has been fulfilled and climbing, this corporate structure and not losing myself. There's still that same level of humility. There's still that same level of integrity and wanting to give back. I think that if you ground yourself in the principles of climbing the structure in order to open up the door for somebody else behind you, or to give back in whatever capacity you can, you'll continue to stay grounded, throughout the process and be much more fulfilled once you get to the top. So I'd say never lose focus of where you started, and would you be the CEO or the leader executive that would make the you that first started proud?
Mm. I
That,
love that.
that would be
That
it.
is perfect. Perfect closing to this perfect, conversation. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure.
Yes. Is there anything you want to tell our listeners? Any, your social media? How can they contact you about mental health? Always
Um,
tech, anything.
You know what? I'll leave you with this, and I've left people with this before. I don't know if you're familiar. Well, we're relatively same age. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the actor Brendan Fraser. He was the
Mhm.
Mummy, the Mummy,
Yep.
and he stepped away from acting for about 12 years. I didn't know it was due to
Mhm.
all of the the physical ailments that he had from that
Yeah.
Mummy trilogy, and then he landed
Right.
that role in The Whale. I didn't know that he went through a deep depression before he got that award, right?
Mhm.
He, ended up getting the Golden Globe and all this other stuff. But in his speech, he was saying, you know, whoever you are, if you're in darkness, wherever you are, don't worry about it. Find that tiny bit of light and go towards it. Wherever it is, just go, just go, just go. It's there. Find it.
Yes.
So I say to, whoever is listening to this podcast, wherever you are in your career, wherever you are in life, whatever, traumatic experiences you've, experienced, find that light and just go towards it. That could be counseling, that could be a new career, that could be, wanting to find ways to heal within family structure. Go towards it. You have so much more to live for, and embrace it.
I love that. Perfect. Well,
There we
thank
go.
you, Leon.
Well, thank you for having me.